It was one of those quiet, peaceful evenings when everything felt just right. Daniel and I had been together for nearly 25 years, and our routine had settled into something comforting, almost predictable. It wasn't that the excitement had vanished, no. Not at all, but life had woven us into a bond that felt effortless, like second nature. Daniel was my rock, the one person who knew me better than anyone else in the world. But on that night, as we sat around the dinner table with Mark Daniel's childhood friend and someone I had grown to see as part of our family, something shifted. It was just the three of us, sharing a simple meal at home. The soft hum of the dishwasher filled the background, and candlelight flickered on the walls, casting gentle shadows. Mark had always been a calm presence, quiet but with a quiet intensity that drew people in. He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. That night, though, there was something different about him. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. It was just a subtle change, a quiet tension that seemed to pulse in the air between us. Daniel, as always, was his cheerful self, telling jokes and laughing loudly, filling the room with warmth. But every time Mark looked at me, there was something in his eyes, something unspoken. I tried to push it aside, to chalk it up to the wine or the comfort of the evening. But as the night wore on, that feeling only grew stronger. It wasn't anything obvious, no harsh words, no arguments, just glances that lingered a little too long, a silent thread pulling at my attention. Daniel didn't seem to notice. He was lost in the easy rhythm of the night, never suspecting that something was quietly shifting beneath the surface. Then it happened. We had just finished dessert Daniel's favorite, a rich chocolate mousse, and the conversation had slowed to a comfortable hush. That's when Mark spoke, his voice low but steady, carrying a weight that made me pause mid-sip of my wine. "You know, Emily," he said, looking directly at me, "I've always thought you were more than just Daniel's wife." I froze, the glass in my hand suddenly feeling heavy. Daniel was half listening, his attention caught by something on his phone. But Mark's words, they landed in the air between us like a quiet, undeniable truth. His gaze held mine for a moment longer than usual, and in that moment, it felt like the world had stopped. I didn't know what to say, didn't know if I wanted to step forward or retreat. My heart was racing, my mind spinning with questions I wasn't sure I wanted answers to. And that's where it all began. A single sentence that cracked open something deep inside me, something I hadn't even known was there. The next morning, I woke up with a strange sense of unease, as if the ground beneath me had shifted while I slept. I'd always been someone who prided myself on being in control of my emotions, my thoughts, my life. But now, everything felt uncertain. Mark's words from the night before echoed in my mind, playing over and over. "You're more than just Daniel's wife." It was such a simple statement, but it carried the weight of something unspoken, something that felt like an unexpected confession. I tried to brush it off as a compliment, a fleeting moment that didn't mean anything, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. The way he had looked at me, the sincerity in his voice, it had stirred something inside me that I hadn't felt in years. Daniel was still asleep beside me, his face peaceful in the soft morning light. I didn't want to wake him. He was always so calm in the mornings, so steady and sure. I admired that about him, how effortlessly he navigated life. But me? I was tangled in thoughts I didn't know how to share. I went about my morning routine, trying to shake the feeling off. Making coffee, preparing breakfast, each small task felt heavier than usual. My mind kept drifting back to that moment with Mark, the look in his eyes, the quiet intensity of his words. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to talk to someone, to get it out of my head. I picked up my phone and called my sister, Lily. She'd always been the person I turned to when things felt too tangled to sort out on my own. "Hello?" Lily's warm voice answered almost immediately, grounding me in its familiarity. "Hey, it's me," I said, my voice tight. I need to talk." "What's going on?" she asked, her tone instantly shifting to one of concern. "You sound off. What happened?" I took a deep breath, trying to find the words. "It's Mark, Daniel's friend. Last night he said something to me, something I can't stop thinking about. There was a pause on the line, the kind that let me know she was really listening. What did he say? I closed my eyes, the memory of it coming back in vivid detail. He said that I'm more than just Daniel's wife, that he sees me for who I really am. Lily was silent for a moment, processing what I'd just told her. That's a lot to take in, she said finally. It's a strange thing to say, especially if it wasn't a joke. It didn't feel like a joke, I admitted quietly. It felt real, like he really meant it, and it's been messing with my head ever since. Lily let out a slow breath. Emily, you're your own person, and sometimes when you've been in a relationship as long as you and Daniel have, it's easy to forget that. Easy to lose the parts of you that are just you. I know, I said softly, the truth of her words settling deep in my chest. I didn't expect it to come from him. It feels like I'm suddenly seeing myself through someone else's eyes, and it's unsettling. Maybe you need to take a step back, Lily suggested gently. Not to make any decisions, but to just let yourself feel it. Let it breathe. You don't have to figure it all out right now. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Her advice made sense, but it didn't make the feelings go away. I'll try, I whispered. Thanks, Lily. We said our goodbyes, and I hung up the phone feeling both comforted and even more confused than before, because deep down I knew something had shifted, something that wasn't going to be so easy to ignore. The hours after talking to Lily were a blur. I tried to focus on the small things, folding laundry, checking emails, watering the plants, but my thoughts kept circling back to Mark, like a song I couldn't turn off. The way he had looked at me that night, the way his words had cracked open something inside me, was all I could think about, and I knew I couldn't just let it go. I had to confront it, even if I didn't know what I was really looking for. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone again. My fingers hovered over Mark's number for a moment before I pressed call, my hand trembling slightly. Hello? Mark's familiar voice answered on the other end, calm and steady. Mark, it's Emily, I said, my voice small but determined. Emily, he said, sounding a little surprised. Hey, how are you? I'm okay, I lied. I needed to ask you about something you said the other night. There was a pause on the line. About what? I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. You told me I'm more than just Daniel's wife, that you see me for who I really am. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Another pause. I could hear him breathing on the other end, as if he was choosing his words carefully. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, he said finally, his voice soft. But I meant every word, Emily. I've always seen you as more than the roles you play, more than a wife or a mother. I see you. His words sent a shiver down my spine. I didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to me like that before. Not even Daniel. It was as if Mark was seeing a part of me that I had forgotten existed. I don't know what to do with that, I confessed, my voice trembling. It's like I've been living in this role for so long that I forgot who I was before all of it. And now, I don't know who that person is anymore. Mark was quiet for a moment, then spoke with a quiet conviction that felt like a balm. Emily, I don't want to complicate things for you. I'm not saying any of this to make your life harder. But I need you to know that you are so much more than the roles you've been handed. You deserve to be seen. To be you. A lump formed in my throat. I closed my eyes, letting his words sink in. I don't know if I'm ready for this, I whispered. I don't even know what this is. You don't have to decide anything right now, Mark said gently. Just don't bury it. Don't pretend it doesn't matter. Because it does. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Thank you, Mark, I said quietly. I think I needed to hear that. We said our goodbyes, and I set the phone down, my hands shaking. I didn't know where this left me, or what it meant for Daniel and me. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe, like a door had opened, even if I wasn't sure yet whether to walk through it. That night, as I lay in bed beside Daniel, I felt the weight of everything pressing down on me. I had always believed that honesty was the foundation of our marriage, but this was different. It wasn't just about me and Mark. It was about something that had been building for years, something in me that I had kept buried for too long. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. I couldn't keep this hidden from Daniel, even if I wasn't sure how to say the words. The next morning, we were sitting at the kitchen table, the soft glow of early sunlight washing over us. Daniel was reading the paper, sipping his coffee, and for a moment I watched him, memorizing the gentle lines of his face. He looked up, sensing the shift in the air between us. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice low and full of concern. I set my cup down, my hands suddenly trembling. "Daniel, I need to talk to you about something." He put his paper down immediately, his full attention turning to me. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath, feeling my heart pound in my chest. "It's about Mark. He said something to me the other night, something that's been on my mind ever since." Daniel's face tightened, the mention of his best friend putting him on alert. "What did he say?" I swallowed hard. "He told me that I'm not just your wife, that he sees me as more than that, and it's made me realize something. I've spent so many years being a wife, a mother, holding everything together, that I forgot who I was outside of all of that, and I don't know what to do with that." Daniel was silent for a long moment, his brow furrowed in thought. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet, honest. "Emily, I never meant for you to feel like you were just my wife," he said, his words catching in his throat. "But if I'm being honest, I know I've been so focused on everything else work, the kids, that I haven't always checked in with you. I've taken you for granted, and I'm sorry." The relief that washed over me was sudden and overwhelming. I hadn't known what to expect: anger, defensiveness, maybe even denial. But instead, there was this, a moment of raw honesty between us that I hadn't realized we'd been missing. "I don't want to lose myself," I said softly, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. "I want to be more than just the roles I play, and I want us to be more than just routine." Daniel reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "Then let's figure this out together," he said, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. "We've been on autopilot for too long. I don't want that anymore either." For the first time in what felt like forever, I saw him, really saw him, and I felt seen in return. No pretenses, no masks, just two people, trying to find their way back to each other. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't a promise that everything would be easy from here on out, but it was a start, and for now, that was enough. The days that followed were quieter but filled with a kind of raw, fragile honesty I hadn't felt in years. Daniel and I talked more, really talked, in ways we hadn't in a long time. Not about the kids, or work, or what we needed to pick up from the store, but about us. About me. It wasn't easy. There were awkward silences and moments where I wasn't sure how to find the words. But little by little, I started sharing the things I'd kept buried deep inside, the dreams I'd put on hold, the parts of myself I'd let fade into the background. And Daniel listened. He didn't try to fix everything or offer solutions. He just listened. And that, somehow, made all the difference. At the same time, I found myself needing space to think, to figure out who I was outside of my roles as a wife and a mother. So I started carving out small moments just for myself. I'd take long walks in the evenings, letting the cool air clear my mind. I'd read books I'd forgotten I loved, write in a journal I hadn't touched in years. Little by little, I was learning to hear my own voice again. There were still moments of doubt-off guilt, even. How could I be so consumed by my own feelings when I had a husband and a family that depended on me? But every time that doubt crept in, I reminded myself that I wasn't just doing this for me, I was doing it for us. Because if I couldn't be honest with myself, if I couldn't be whole, I couldn't be a true partner to Daniel. One evening, as we sat on the couch together in the soft glow of the lamplight, Daniel reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. "You seem lighter," he said quietly. "Like you're starting to find yourself again." I looked at him, really looked, and for a moment, I felt tears well up in my eyes. I'm trying, I whispered. I don't want to lose who I am. I want to be me, and I want us to be more than just comfortable. He nodded slowly, his hand still resting against my cheek. I want that too, he said, more than anything. In that moment, I realized that finding myself didn't mean losing him. It meant finding our way back to each other, not as the people we thought we had to be, but as the people we really were. And that, I thought, was worth everything. About a week after that conversation with Daniel, I decided to take a walk. It was late afternoon, the sky painted in soft pinks and purples as the sun slipped below the horizon. I needed the quiet, the fresh air, the chance to feel my own thoughts without the noise of everything else. I walked through the old neighborhood park where Daniel and I had spent so many afternoons when we were first married. I remembered us sitting on the swings, talking about everything and nothing, dreaming about the life we were building together. It felt both distant and close at once. Sitting on that swing alone, I let my mind wander. I thought about Mark and the way his words had cracked something open inside me. I thought about Daniel, about how he had held my hand and listened to me in a way he hadn't in years. But most of all, I thought about myself, about the person I had been before I became a wife, a mother, someone's caretaker. I thought about the dreams I had buried and the quiet truths I'd been too afraid to speak. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was seeing myself clearly, not through anyone else's eyes, but my own. And there was no shame in that, no guilt, just acceptance. I stood up from the swing and turned back toward home, feeling a lightness in my steps that I hadn't felt in years. When I walked through the front door, Daniel was waiting for me at the kitchen table. He looked up and smiled, and I saw something in his eyes that told me he understood. "You're back," he said softly. "I am?" I replied, my voice steady and sure. He stood and walked over to me, taking my hand in his. "I can see it in you," he said. "You've found something. Something I think we both needed." I nodded, feeling a warmth spread through me. "I have. And I want us to keep finding it together." There were no big promises, no dramatic declarations. Just a quiet understanding that we were both ready to start again, not from scratch, but from a place of truth and respect. That night, as we sat side by side, I realized that the real change wasn't just in me, it was in us. We had learned that love isn't just about roles or expectations. It's about seeing each other, really seeing each other, and choosing each other every single day. And in that choice, I knew we'd be okay. More than okay. We'd be stronger, together and apart. Because for the first time in a long time, we were both ready to be the people we truly were.